Friends, if you are someone who enjoys heartwarming animated films filled with action, adventure, and a whole lot of emotion, then you are going to love this video. And if you want to watch the super entertaining and unforgettable animated movie Bolt from 2008 in English, then make sure to like this video right now. Also, if you are visiting our channel for the very first time, do not forget to hit that subscribe button, because we bring you the best and most interesting movie breakdowns, reviews, and updates on what is worth watching. Trust me, you do not want to miss out. Now, let us talk about the movie we have all come to enjoy, Bolt. This film is not just your average animated feature. It is a rollercoaster of emotions that combines humor, adventure, drama, and an adorable dog who believes he is a real-life superhero. Yes, you heard that right. Bolt, the main character, has spent his entire life on the set of a television show, convinced that his powers like superbark, laser vision, and incredible speed are real. But when he accidentally gets shipped from Hollywood to New York, he begins an unexpected journey across America to reunite with his owner Penny, and along the way, he discovers the true meaning of friendship, loyalty, and identity. In today's video, I am going to give you all the details about this fantastic movie. We will explore where you can watch it right now, whether on an OTT platform, a satellite channel, or any digital store. I will tell you all about its production journey starting from pre-production and voice casting to the innovative animation techniques used by Walt Disney Animation Studios. We will talk about the music department, including the film's original score and soundtrack, which plays a huge role in making the emotional scenes so impactful. We will also dive into some interesting facts and trivia about the movie. Did you know that Bolt marked a significant turning point for Disney animation? Or that it was one of the first animated films to be fully overseen by Pixar's creative leadership after the Disney-Pixar merger? There is a lot to uncover, and I promise you will learn things you never knew about this seemingly simple but deeply meaningful film. Apart from that, we will take a close look at the budget of the film, how much it cost to bring Bolt's world to life, and what the global box office collection looked like when the film was released. And of course, no movie video is complete without talking about the voice cast. You will get to know who voiced Bolt, Penny, and other memorable characters like Mittens the street-smart cat and Rhino the fearless hamster who is possibly the biggest fan of Bolt on the planet. We will also discuss the characters themselves, what role each one plays in Bolt's journey and how their personalities add depth and humor to the film. We will go over the storyline in a spoiler-free way, just enough to get you excited to watch or re-watch this gem. I will also give you a small review, sharing what makes Bolt such a special movie that appeals not just to kids but to viewers of all ages. So if you are ready for a fun, action-packed adventure filled with laughs, heartfelt moments, and one determined dog on a mission, then stick around till the end of this video. Because today, we are going to celebrate everything that makes Bolt a modern animated classic. Let us get started. The story of Bolt kicks off with a bang, literally. We are thrown straight into a high-stakes action sequence where Bolt, a white shepherd dog with superpowers, is on a mission to rescue his owner Penny from the clutches of a sinister villain known as Dr. Calico. There are helicopters, laser beams, exploding vehicles, and a dog who can bark like a sonic boom. It is thrilling, over the top, and completely captivating. But then, plot twist. None of it is real. It is all just a TV show. Here is where the real story begins. Bolt, the dog, does not know he is an actor. He genuinely believes he has powers, that he is Penny's protector, and that danger is always just around the corner. The studio has gone to extreme lengths to keep him in the dark, all for the sake of authentic performances. The poor guy lives in a set bubble, convinced that his world is real. So when a cliffhanger episode ends with Penny being captured, Bolt believes she is truly in danger. This belief pushes him to escape from his trailer, and through a series of chaotic events involving a cardboard box and a lot of confusion, he ends up being shipped all the way across the country to New York City. And just like that, Bolt is on his own, without his powers, in a completely unfamiliar world. This moment is one of the story's key turning points, as it pulls Bolt out of his illusion and into reality. But he does not know that yet. He is still trying to use his superpowers, from laser stares to indestructible charges, and each failed attempt adds a dose of comedy to the narrative. Enter Mittens, a sarcastic, street-smart alley cat who becomes Bolt's reluctant companion. She is savvy, tough, and hilariously unimpressed with Bolt's delusions. Their dynamic is brilliant. Mittens tries to explain how the real world works, while Bolt insists he must continue his mission to save Penny. As they journey together across America, their relationship slowly changes. Mittens becomes more than just a guide, she becomes a friend. Bolt starts questioning everything he thought he knew. The emotional core of the film is rooted in this growth, in Bolt's slow realization that he is not a superhero, and maybe he never was. But that does not make him any less of a hero. Then comes Rhino. A hamster in a plastic ball with more courage and movie knowledge than any rodent has a right to possess. Rhino is Bolt's #1 fan, completely convinced that Bolt really does have powers. He joins the mission with unmatched enthusiasm, often stealing scenes with his ridiculous one-liners and over-the-top dedication. Rhino adds a burst of energy to the story and gives Bolt the push he needs to keep going, even as his doubts start to grow. As the trio gets closer to Hollywood, the emotional tension builds. Bolt starts to see flashbacks of his time with Penny and wonders what he means to her if he is not a superdog. There is a powerful sequence where Mittens tries to convince Bolt to stay with her, to start a new life where he can just be a dog, free from the pressure of being something he is not. It is a touching moment that hits hard. But Bolt's love for Penny is too strong, and he continues the journey home. Back in Hollywood, Penny is heartbroken, believing that Bolt is lost forever. The TV show is continuing without him, and a replacement dog is brought in. When Bolt finally returns, things are not quite what he expected. He sees Penny with the replacement dog on set and misunderstands the situation, leading to one of the most heartbreaking moments in the film. It is a quiet moment of self-doubt and sadness, and for a movie aimed at younger audiences, it handles emotional depth with real care. But the final act brings everything to a head. A fire breaks out on set, trapping Penny inside. Now, Bolt may not have superpowers, but he has something even stronger, his loyalty and love. He rushes into the flames to save her, and in doing so, proves that he never needed powers to be a hero. This moment is full of tension, heat, and raw courage. Bolt stays by Penny's side, guiding her out, barking until someone hears them. It is intense, it is heartfelt, and it wraps up Bolt's journey in a way that is deeply satisfying. What makes the narrative so interesting is that it starts like a superhero movie, but by the end, it is really about identity, trust, and finding your place in the world. Bolt's journey from illusion to truth, from a fake hero to a real one, is handled with humor, emotion, and lots of clever storytelling. It follows a fairly linear structure but uses its opening deception and character-driven road trip to play with audience expectations in a fun and meaningful way. The turning points, the escape from the studio, the encounter with Mittens, the introduction of Rhino, the return to the set, and the final rescue, are all loaded with both emotional and narrative weight. So while the structure might seem conventional on the surface, the journey it takes us on is full of surprises, warmth, and genuine moments of reflection. It is not just about a dog on a mission, it is about what happens when everything you believe in turns out to be false, and how you find yourself when the spotlight fades. Bolt is more than a movie about adventure. It is a story about becoming real. Bolt might look like just another animated dog movie, but one of the reasons it stands out is because its characters are surprisingly layered and full of heart. These are not one-note cartoon characters doing silly things for laughs. They grow, they change, they clash, they connect, and they take us along for a journey that is both emotional and entertaining. Let us start with Bolt himself. On the surface, he is the hero. Strong, brave, determined. But the twist is that all of this is based on a lie. Bolt thinks he is a superdog because he has lived his entire life on a TV set, where every explosion, every villain, every heroic moment is scripted and staged. The tragedy is that he does not know it. And because of that, his entire identity is built on fiction. When he gets tossed into the real world, the layers start to peel back. He is not invincible. He cannot shoot lasers from his eyes. His super bark does nothing. And for the first time in his life, Bolt is vulnerable. What makes this character arc so powerful is that we get to see a so-called superhero become something even more impressive, a real dog who learns how to live, feel, and love outside of the spotlight. His growth is not about discovering powers but about discovering the truth and realizing he does not need to be a hero to be important. He just needs to be himself. Now let us talk about Mittens, the cat with an attitude. When we meet her, she is living on the streets, scamming pigeons for food, and full of distrust toward everyone. She is cynical, guarded, and endlessly sarcastic. But when you look closer, her sarcasm is armor. She has been abandoned. She has been declawed. She has seen the worst of people and decided it is safer not to care. So when Bolt shows up, convinced he is a superdog on a mission, she rolls her eyes and goes along for the ride only because she has no other choice. But as the journey continues, something amazing happens. Mittens starts to believe again. Not in superpowers, but in the possibility of kindness. She watches Bolt struggle, learn, fail, and try again, and slowly, she lets her walls down. Her transformation is one of the most rewarding in the film. From a lonely survivor with a sharp tongue to a loyal friend who dares to hope for something better. By the end, she is not just a companion, she is family. And then there is Rhino. The hamster in the plastic ball who is living in his own action movie 24/7. At first glance, Rhino is pure comic relief. He is obsessed with TV, idolizes Bolt, and delivers over-the-top lines with unstoppable enthusiasm. But here is the thing: under all the silliness, Rhino represents something important. He is the heart of belief. He reminds Bolt of who he wants to be and gives him the courage to move forward even when the world stops making sense. Rhino may not grow in the traditional sense, but he helps others grow. He is the spark of faith in a movie that is all about doubt and discovery. He believes in Bolt before Bolt believes in himself. And that kind of unwavering support has a huge impact on both the characters and the audience. Even Penny, who has less screen time compared to the animal trio, brings emotional depth to the story. She genuinely loves Bolt, but because of the demands of showbiz, she is forced to let him live in a fake world. When she thinks she has lost him, her heartbreak feels real. And when they are finally reunited, it is clear that her connection with Bolt is not based on the show or the powers, but on the bond they share. She chooses Bolt over fame, over her career, and that tells you everything about her priorities. Her decision reinforces one of the film's central messages, that love and loyalty matter more than image and illusion. What makes the character development in Bolt so effective is how the relationships evolve naturally. Bolt starts out alone, clueless, and misled. Mittens starts out bitter, broken, and mistrustful. Rhino bursts in with blind optimism. But together, they balance each other. Bolt learns to be real. Mittens learns to trust. Rhino helps them both keep going. It is a story of three completely different personalities crashing into each other and coming out better on the other side. There is no magical transformation or big speech that changes everything. Instead, it is a slow, meaningful process where friendship, shared struggles, and quiet moments do the heavy lifting. So while the movie might be packed with adventure and jokes, what gives it real weight is the way its characters are written and developed. They feel alive. They react, they adapt, they change. And by the end, they are not just different, they are deeper. Watching them grow is not just entertaining. It is genuinely moving. The performances in Bolt are one of the film's biggest hidden strengths. Animated movies often rely heavily on voice acting to sell emotion, comedy, and personality, and Bolt does not hold back. Every character feels like they were born for their voice, and the casting choices turn what could have been a simple kids' movie into something much richer and more emotionally grounded. First up, John Travolta as Bolt. Now that is a wild casting choice on paper. Travolta is best known for playing smooth, confident, sometimes over-the-top characters. But here, he strips all that away and gives us a voice that is earnest, loyal, and full of confused determination. Travolta's voice work sells the idea that Bolt truly believes he is a superhero. He speaks with such serious conviction that you almost believe it too. But what really makes his performance special is how he handles the emotional unraveling. When Bolt begins to realize that his powers are not real, you can hear the heartbreak in his voice. There is a quiet vulnerability in the way he reacts to failure, to confusion, to fear. It is subtle, but it gives Bolt real depth. Travolta doesn't just play a talking dog. He plays a living, feeling character who happens to be covered in fur. Then we have Miley Cyrus as Penny. She does not have as much screen time as the animals, but she brings a lot of warmth to the role. Her voice has this natural sweetness and sincerity that makes you instantly believe in her bond with Bolt. Penny is not just a backdrop character. She is Bolt's entire world, and Cyrus manages to make that connection believable with just her tone and delivery. Even in the scenes where she has to act like everything is okay on set while knowing Bolt is missing, there is a hint of pain and longing in her voice that adds emotional weight to the story. It is a performance that does a lot with a little. But the true standout of the film might just be Susie Essman as Mittens. If you know Essman from her loud, no-nonsense roles, you'll be delighted to hear how perfectly that transfers into the world of Bolt. Mittens is all attitude on the outside, but as the movie goes on, we see her soften in ways that feel completely natural. Essman delivers some of the film's funniest lines with perfect timing, but she also knows when to hold back and let the vulnerability seep through. There are moments where Mittens talks about her past, about being abandoned, about how she doesn't trust people anymore, and Essman hits those notes beautifully. It's not just about the jokes. It's about how those jokes are protecting something fragile underneath. She plays the transformation from street-smart cynic to loyal friend with such authenticity that you forget you're listening to a cat. And of course, there is Mark Walton as Rhino, the hamster in a ball with delusions of grandeur. What is incredible is that Walton was not even a professional voice actor. He was a story artist at the studio who temporarily voiced the character during early test reels. But he nailed it so completely that they kept him. And thank goodness they did. Rhino is pure joy. His delivery is loud, dramatic, and filled with comic bravado. Every line he speaks feels like he believes he's in the most epic movie of all time. But that over-the-top energy is never annoying because Walton gives it a genuine enthusiasm that feels contagious. He's not acting. He's living it. And that makes Rhino more than just a funny sidekick. He becomes the emotional cheerleader of the entire film. Even the minor characters and background roles are well done. From the studio execs to the pigeons with regional accents, every voice feels carefully chosen to add character and color to the world. Nobody sounds out of place or phoned in. There is a sense of real investment from the entire cast, even in the smallest moments. What makes the performances in Bolt work so well is that they do not try to be flashy or overly animated. Instead, they focus on grounding the characters in real emotion. Travolta gives us a hero in crisis. Cyrus gives us a girl who misses her best friend. Essman gives us a wounded soul with sharp claws. Walton gives us unstoppable belief in the impossible. And together, they create a cast that brings humor, heart, and depth to every scene. The magic of these performances is that they do not just bring the characters to life. They make them feel like old friends by the time the credits roll. You laugh with them, worry for them, root for them, and maybe even tear up a little when they finally find their way home. That is the power of great voice acting, and Bolt has it in spades. The direction of *Bolt* is one of the key elements that elevate the film beyond a typical animated adventure. Directors Chris Williams and Byron Howard shape the tone, mood, and storytelling in a way that feels both entertaining and emotionally resonant. From the very beginning, they know exactly what kind of experience they want to create, and it's a careful blend of humor, action, and heartfelt character moments that never veers too far into one direction. The film is able to balance the high-energy thrills of a superhero story with the more subtle emotional growth of its characters, making it a unique viewing experience. The tone of *Bolt* is something that is handled with incredible precision. The movie starts off with the typical intensity of a superhero action sequence. You have explosions, fast-paced chases, dramatic music, and a dog hero who seems to have it all figured out. It feels like we're watching a blockbuster movie, full of suspense and action. But the twist is quickly revealed: this is not real. This action-packed world is just a TV show, and Bolt, the dog, has been living in this world thinking everything is genuine. The directors shift gears smoothly, showing us the difference between the fake, glamorous world and the real world where Bolt is just a regular dog trying to figure out who he is. The sudden change in tone could have been jarring, but the directors handle it in such a way that it feels natural. The movie still maintains its humor, heart, and adventure, even though the stakes have shifted. This shift in tone is one of the most impressive aspects of the direction. By blending action with emotional beats, the directors never let the film fall too far into one category. They keep the film moving at a pace that never feels too slow or rushed. The pacing is one of the film's strongest features. There are moments of action and chaos that feel fast and exciting, but they are always balanced by quieter, more reflective moments that give the characters a chance to grow. This gives the audience time to invest in the emotional journey of the characters without feeling like it's dragging. Every scene feels purposeful. There is no filler. The directors make sure that the story moves forward and the characters evolve in meaningful ways. One of the standout stylistic choices is how the directors contrast the TV show world with the real world. In the TV show, the scenes are bright, exaggerated, and feel larger than life. Everything is cinematic, polished, and designed to look like the typical high-budget action movie. The visuals are saturated, and everything feels grand. But when Bolt enters the real world, there is an immediate shift in the atmosphere. The lighting becomes softer, and the world feels more grounded. There's a sense of scale that changes, and you start to realize just how small Bolt really is in this new world. This shift in style is subtle but effective, adding layers to the story. As Bolt's character begins to question who he really is, the visuals mirror that change, making the world around him feel bigger and more intimidating. The direction, through this shift, makes sure that the audience feels the weight of Bolt's journey from illusion to reality. The directors also know how to blend comedy and emotional moments. Bolt isn't just a movie that focuses on the big action sequences. It's a movie that gives you laughs, but they are never at the expense of the emotional depth of the story. The humor feels natural, coming from the characters rather than forced jokes. Rhino, for instance, is a character that could easily have been over the top to the point of distraction, but the way he is handled is perfect. His overconfidence and dramatic personality bring much-needed comic relief, but his lines never feel like they're undermining the story. Instead, they add energy to the movie, keeping it light without making it superficial. The directors use this humor to build character relationships, particularly the one between Bolt and Mittens, and their chemistry keeps the film engaging throughout. Another stylistic choice that works really well is the use of silence. There are moments in the film where the directors choose to let the characters' emotions speak without words. These quiet moments are powerful, allowing the audience to feel the weight of what the characters are going through. Whether it's Bolt sitting alone at night, reflecting on his journey, or Mittens opening up about her past, these silences are not awkward or drawn out, but poignant. They give the film an emotional depth that is rare in a family-friendly animated movie. The pacing slows down in these moments, allowing the characters to breathe and giving the audience time to reflect on the themes of the film. The narrative vision of the directors also plays a huge role in making the story unique. Bolt doesn't follow the traditional hero's journey where the protagonist discovers his superpowers and saves the day. Instead, it flips the script. Bolt begins the movie thinking he is a hero, only to discover that his powers are not real. And through that process, he learns what it really means to be a hero, not through strength or special abilities, but through loyalty, love, and the willingness to protect the people who matter most. This narrative structure adds an unexpected depth to the story and makes it stand out from other animated films. It's a journey of self-discovery, and the directors do a great job of making that transformation feel organic. There are no big speeches or dramatic moments that force Bolt to change. Instead, his growth happens gradually, through his experiences with Mittens, Rhino, and his growing understanding of what it means to truly be a friend. In terms of shot composition, the directors use framing to reflect the emotional journey of the characters. When Bolt first enters the real world, he is often framed in wide shots, making him appear small and vulnerable in an unfamiliar environment. As he becomes more confident and learns who he is, the shots tighten, focusing more on his face and showing his emotional growth. It's a visual representation of his transformation, and it's done with a subtlety that enhances the storytelling without drawing too much attention to itself. Ultimately, The direction of **Bolt** is a perfect example of how thoughtful filmmaking can make a seemingly simple animated movie feel much deeper and more resonant. It's not just about the jokes or the action, it's about the emotional truths the movie explores. The directors create a world where everything from the pacing to the visuals to the performances works together to tell a story about identity, friendship, and the importance of being real. They craft a movie that's not just fun to watch, but emotionally rich and satisfying, something that resonates long after the credits roll. The cinematography in **Bolt** is one of the movie's secret weapons when it comes to telling the story visually. Every camera angle, lighting choice, and shot composition is carefully crafted to enhance the mood, the atmosphere, and the emotional journey of the characters. This film doesn't just rely on animation for its charm, it uses cinematography to immerse the audience in the world of Bolt, creating moments that feel as vibrant and dynamic as the characters themselves. Right from the opening scenes, the camera work is designed to draw you into the larger-than-life world of the TV show where Bolt believes he is a superhero. The angles are bold, sweeping, and dramatic, almost like a real action movie. We're talking about wide shots that capture the scale of the chase scenes, low-angle shots that make Bolt look heroic, and fast-moving camera work that mirrors the high-octane energy of his mission. The lighting in these scenes is bright and saturated, giving everything a larger-than-life, glossy feel that screams Hollywood blockbuster. The way these shots are framed builds the illusion that Bolt is in an epic adventure, and it does so with style. But then, as soon as we transition to the real world, the cinematography shifts drastically. The lighting becomes softer, the colors are more muted, and the camera angles get a lot more grounded. There's a noticeable contrast between the TV world and reality, and it's not just in the narrative, it's built into the visuals. When Bolt steps out into the real world for the first time, the camera often frames him in wide shots that make him appear small and vulnerable, standing against an overwhelming environment that he doesn't understand. This shift in framing shows just how much bigger the world is compared to his self-created superhero persona. It also creates a sense of isolation. Bolt is lost in this new world, and the cinematography makes sure we feel that. One of the most striking aspects of the cinematography in **Bolt** is how it uses camera angles to emphasize the emotional states of the characters. For example, when Bolt first starts to doubt himself and his powers, the shots tighten on his face, focusing on his confusion and frustration. You can see the struggle in his eyes, and the close-up framing pulls you in closer, making you feel his uncertainty. There's a great scene where Bolt is sitting on the roof, looking up at the stars, and the camera frames him in a way that gives the shot a sense of quiet contemplation. The framing here creates a feeling of loneliness, but also a moment of personal growth. It's a simple moment, but the way the shot is composed makes it impactful. The lighting also plays a big role in shaping the mood throughout the film. In the real-world scenes, the lighting is much softer and more natural, often filtered through trees or windows, creating a gentle, peaceful atmosphere. These moments stand in stark contrast to the harsher, more dramatic lighting of the action sequences. It's as if the filmmakers are using lighting not just to show the difference between the two worlds, but to emphasize the emotional growth of the characters. As Bolt begins to realize that his powers aren't real and that the world isn't as simple as he thought, the lighting becomes warmer, softer, and more reflective. It's like the film's visual tone is adjusting to Bolt's journey toward self-discovery. There are also moments of visually striking beauty that elevate the story. One of the most memorable scenes is when Bolt, Mittens, and Rhino are traveling together across the country. The cinematography captures sweeping landscapes with wide shots that make the world feel vast and expansive. The beauty of the scenery in these moments reflects the freedom the characters are experiencing, but it also adds a layer of emotional weight to the story. These moments of natural beauty aren't just there for aesthetic purposes, they enhance the feeling that Bolt's journey is not just physical, but emotional as well. They're moments of peace, where the characters can just be in the world without the rush of action. Tension is another key element that the cinematography handles incredibly well. There's a scene towards the end of the film when Bolt is about to face a big challenge, and the camera work becomes much tighter, focusing on Bolt's anxious expressions as he prepares for what's to come. The camera angles shift to create a sense of urgency, and the pacing picks up as we feel the weight of the moment. The tight framing here mirrors Bolt's internal conflict, and it makes us feel the tension building in real time. It's a clever use of the cinematography to reflect the emotional stakes of the scene. And then there's the playful side of the cinematography. One of the most charming aspects of **Bolt** is how it uses exaggerated camera angles for comedic effect. When Rhino is introduced, for example, the camera frames him inside his hamster ball like he's the most important character in the movie. It's over the top, but it perfectly captures Rhino's larger-than-life personality and delusions of grandeur. Similarly, the directors use dynamic, fast-moving camera work during the action scenes to create a sense of chaos and excitement. Whether it's a dramatic chase or a funny moment of slapstick humor, the camera angles and movement never feel out of place. The cinematography in **Bolt** isn't just about making the movie look good, it's about enhancing the emotional depth of the story. The way the shots are framed, the lighting choices, and the use of camera movement all contribute to the storytelling, helping to convey the internal struggles of the characters, the emotional highs and lows, and the overall tone of the film. Every visual choice feels purposeful, working hand in hand with the narrative to immerse the audience in Bolt's world, making us feel everything from the excitement of his adventure to the sadness of his realization that he is not a superhero. It's a perfect example of how cinematography can elevate a story and create an unforgettable visual experience. The editing and pacing of **Bolt** are like the heartbeat of the film. The way the scenes are cut and the speed at which they flow through the story helps shape everything about the movie, from the energy to the emotional weight to the way it grabs your attention. It's not always about the speed at which things happen, it's about how the rhythm of the editing helps push the characters' journeys forward, keeps the humor fresh, and gives those quieter moments room to breathe. From the very beginning, the editing sets the tone with its high-speed action sequences. In the opening moments, the cuts are quick, the scenes move fast, and the energy is explosive. This mirrors Bolt's mindset at the start of the movie, his living in a world of high stakes and non-stop action. The editing doesn't give you time to catch your breath because, in Bolt's mind, everything is urgent and intense. But then, when the twist is revealed, and we see that Bolt's entire life has been a TV show, the editing slows down. It's subtle at first, but you begin to notice the cuts becoming longer, the transitions smoother, and the pacing more relaxed as Bolt steps into the real world. This shift in pacing mirrors Bolt's emotional journey, as he starts to let go of his superhero delusions and confront the reality of who he is. There are some incredible moments where the editing works hand in hand with the story's emotional beats. Take the scene where Bolt realizes he's not the hero he thought he was. The editing slows down just enough for us to see the confusion and heartbreak in his eyes. The cuts are more deliberate, giving us a chance to soak in Bolt's emotions. This pacing allows the audience to connect with his struggle and adds weight to the moment. It's a great example of how the rhythm of the film plays a huge role in its emotional impact. Without the careful pacing, that realization wouldn't hit as hard. Then there are those moments where the editing picks up again, especially during action sequences. When Bolt is trying to save Penny, for example, the film jumps into high gear with fast cuts, quick transitions, and rapid action. The rhythm of the editing here mirrors the urgency of the situation. You can feel the rush of the moment, and the pacing reflects Bolt's determination to get to the finish line. It's exciting, it's tense, and it works because of how well the editing supports the stakes of the story. On the flip side, there's an interesting balance that the editors strike between fast-paced adventure and moments of calm reflection. There are scenes that give the characters space to grow, like when Bolt and Mittens are sharing a quiet moment or when Bolt is contemplating his place in the world. These slower, more thoughtful moments aren't dragged out or overextended, but the pacing gives them the time they need to breathe. The editors don't rush through these parts, they let the characters sit with their emotions. This helps ground the story in reality and makes the eventual emotional payoff feel earned. The rhythm of the film also plays a major role in how the humor lands. **Bolt** isn't just about the big emotional moments or action-packed chases, it's also a comedy, and the editing is key to making those funny bits pop. A lot of the humor comes from timing, whether it's Bolt's misunderstanding of the world around him or the quirky banter between him and Mittens. The editing does a fantastic job of allowing for pauses at just the right moments to let the joke land before moving on. One of the funniest moments in the film is when Bolt and Mittens first start traveling together, and Mittens, who is much more cynical and street-smart than Bolt, keeps commenting on how ridiculous his superhero mentality is. The cuts are quick, and the punchlines come fast, keeping the comedy snappy and fun. Another cool aspect of the editing is how it balances character development with plot progression. The editors know exactly when to linger on a character's face to show their inner thoughts and when to cut to the next action. This constant ebb and flow of pacing keep the story moving forward while still allowing us to connect with the characters on a deeper level. For example, when Bolt starts to bond with Mittens and Rhino, the pacing is a bit slower during their interactions, but then the film picks up again when they encounter new challenges. This rhythmic push and pull help the film maintain a good flow without feeling like it's dragging or rushing. The transitions between scenes are also something worth noting. They're often smooth, but there are times when the editing plays with more dramatic cuts to shift the mood. For instance, when Bolt first steps into the real world, the transition between the fake world and the real world is marked by a sharp change in editing style. The pace slows, the cuts become more deliberate, and you feel the shift in tone without it being too abrupt. It's an editing choice that lets the audience experience the disorientation and confusion that Bolt is going through as he realizes everything he knew was a lie. In terms of pacing, there is a great balance between the action-packed moments and the slower, character-driven scenes. The movie never lingers too long on one element. Just when you think you might need a breather from the action, the film gives you a quiet, introspective moment. And when things are getting too slow, the action picks up again to keep you engaged. This flow keeps the audience invested without ever feeling like the movie overstays its welcome. In the end, the editing and pacing in *Bolt* work in perfect harmony with the storytelling. The film knows when to go fast, when to slow down, and when to let the audience just breathe for a second. It's a masterclass in how the rhythm of the film can shape the emotional journey, keeping the story engaging, funny, and heartfelt. The pacing never feels like it's rushing or dragging, it's just the right speed to keep the audience hooked from start to finish. The soundtrack and score in *Bolt* are essential components of the film that help bring its story to life. The music isn't just an accessory to the visuals, it plays a major role in shaping the emotions of the characters and enhancing the narrative. The way the music and sound are integrated into the film is truly an art form, with every note, every piece of orchestration adding depth to the storytelling. The score captures the heart of the film, whether it's creating a sense of heroism, loneliness, or joy, and it shifts seamlessly to match Bolt's journey from an action-packed, delusional hero to a more grounded and reflective character. The score, composed by John Powell, is particularly noteworthy because it so effectively mirrors the emotional highs and lows of the movie. At the beginning of *Bolt*, the music is bold, intense, and full of energy, reflecting the fast-paced, action-packed world that Bolt believes he inhabits. The music is dynamic, with sweeping orchestral arrangements that make every moment feel larger than life, aligning perfectly with the exaggerated superhero persona Bolt holds. You're swept up in the excitement and tension, as the music builds momentum, keeping you engaged in the thrilling action sequences. The high-energy pace of the score fits perfectly with the chaotic sense of urgency that Bolt feels at the start of the film, as he tries to rescue his owner, Penny, believing he is a real superhero. But then, as Bolt finds himself in the real world, the music starts to shift. The score becomes more subdued, more reflective, and the transition is smooth, showing that Bolt is no longer in the exaggerated world he's used to. The musical cues here are softer, more intimate, with strings and piano creating a sense of vulnerability and wonder. These quieter, more understated pieces help to underscore the emotional development of the film, as Bolt begins to question his identity and his place in the world. As he learns that he doesn't have superpowers, the music slows down, almost as if mirroring his own realization of his limitations. The music allows the viewer to feel his confusion and his growing understanding, and these moments are some of the most emotionally resonant in the film. One of the brilliant aspects of the score is how Powell uses recurring motifs throughout the film. These motifs serve as musical representations of Bolt's evolving internal conflict. At certain moments in the movie, the same musical themes reappear, but each time, they're played with subtle changes. This gives the impression that the music is evolving along with Bolt's character, reflecting his growth. For instance, the heroic musical motif that plays during the action scenes, full of energy and bravado, comes back in a more restrained form as Bolt becomes less about the hero he once imagined and more about understanding the true meaning of heroism. This transformation is not only shown through Bolt's actions and interactions with others but also through how the score adapts to fit the emotional beats. There are moments of silence throughout the film, and these are just as impactful as the music itself. At key points in Bolt's journey, especially during moments of self-discovery, the music fades out, leaving space for the audience to sit with the character's emotions. The absence of music in these moments creates a sense of stillness, allowing the weight of what Bolt is experiencing to hit even harder. This use of silence is particularly effective because it doesn't feel like a lack of sound, it feels intentional, as if the silence is a moment for reflection, both for the character and the audience. One of the most powerful uses of silence occurs when Bolt is reflecting on his relationship with Penny, and the lack of music allows the vulnerability of the scene to shine through. The silence here is not empty, it's a quiet space that gives depth to Bolt's emotional struggle. The standout compositions in *Bolt* are some of the most memorable moments in the film. The main theme is triumphant and inspiring, capturing the essence of Bolt's early belief in his own superhero abilities. It's big and bold, filled with grand orchestral swells that make you feel like anything is possible. This theme is used during the film's most intense moments, such as the action scenes where Bolt is rushing to save Penny. But as the story progresses and Bolt's character arc evolves, the score subtly changes. When Bolt faces the realization that his powers are not real, the music transitions to something more melancholy and introspective. This change in tone is not abrupt but gradual, just as Bolt's understanding of himself and the world grows more complex. The music becomes more nuanced, and you can hear the sadness and confusion in the quieter parts of the score. This emotional depth in the score perfectly mirrors Bolt's character development. The balance of humor and adventure in *Bolt* is also beautifully captured by the score. The comedic moments in the film are highlighted by playful, light-hearted music that adds an extra layer of fun to the scenes. One of the funniest moments in the film is when Bolt and Mittens first begin their journey together. As they navigate the real world, the music is upbeat and quirky, mirroring the mismatch between Bolt's delusions and Mittens' more grounded personality. The playful, whimsical music matches the absurdity of Bolt's belief that he's still on an action-packed mission, even when faced with a mundane reality. The soundtrack also includes some well-placed popular songs, like I Thought I Lost You, performed by Miley Cyrus and John Travolta. This song adds an emotional layer, underscoring the relationship between Bolt and Penny. It's used sparingly, but when it plays, it captures the heartfelt nature of their bond. The song complements the film's score, reinforcing the emotional connection between the characters and highlighting the theme of love and loyalty that runs through the story. Overall, the soundtrack and score in *Bolt* are more than just background music. They are integral to the film's storytelling, helping to guide the audience through the highs and lows of Bolt's journey. Whether it's the high-energy action scenes, the quiet moments of introspection, or the humorous exchanges between characters, the music works in perfect harmony with the narrative, enhancing the emotional impact and giving the audience a deeper connection to the story. The careful integration of music and sound into the fabric of the film is a testament to how important these elements are in creating an immersive, emotional experience for the viewer. The soundtrack in *Bolt* doesn't just accompany the action, it shapes the tone, heightens the stakes, and helps us feel every twist and turn of Bolt's heartwarming adventure. Imagine a film that does not just entertain your eyes but hijacks your brain, tossing it into a labyrinth of questions you did not know you needed to ask. Let us talk about the kind of story that layers its themes like a Russian nesting doll, each revelation peeling back to expose something raw, urgent, and uncomfortably human. Take, for instance, a narrative that dances with the idea of identity as a performance. Characters slip in and out of roles like costumes, leaving you wondering if we are all just improvising our way through life or if there is an authentic self buried under the masks. The film might frame this through a protagonist who is a literal actor, a spy, or even an AI learning to mimic human emotion. Every interaction becomes a hall of mirrors, reflecting the tension between who we are and who we are expected to be. Does it feel forced? Only if the script forgets to let its characters breathe. Stiff dialogue about the masks we wear will crash harder than a failed viral trend. But when the theme is baked into the action, a tense negotiation where lies are currency, a love scene tinged with the fear of being discovered, it becomes electric, a live wire snapping with relatability. Then there is the exploration of power, not just the obvious throne and scepter kind, but the quiet, corrosive power of systems. Think about a dystopia where bureaucracy is the real villain, or a family drama where generational trauma operates like an invisible puppeteer. The film might show a protagonist battling a faceless corporation, only to reveal they are also perpetuating harm in their personal relationships. It is a gut-punch reminder that complicity is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is as mundane as silence, or a well-timed joke to deflect accountability. Does the message land? If the stakes feel abstract, say, a villain monologuing about the system, it is nap time. But if the camera lingers on a background character's exhaustion, or a single mother choosing between ethics and survival, the theme becomes a knife twisting in your ribs. Now, let us wade into the murkiest waters, mortality. Not the heroic sacrifice flavor, but the gnawing, existential dread of impermanence. A film might tackle this by trapping characters in a time loop, forcing them to confront the futility of their routines, or by juxtaposing birth and decay in visceral imagery, a newborn's first cry cut against the sound of a respirator's final beep. The genius here is in the contrast. Life's fleeting beauty becomes almost unbearable when framed by its inevitable end. But tread carefully. This is not a philosophy lecture. If every scene screams about the inevitability of death, it is about as subtle as a jump scare in a horror flick. The magic happens in the quiet moments, a character lingering too long on a sunset, or laughing while tears stream down their face, the weight of mortality pressing down like a physical thing. And what about connection? Not the saccharine love conquers all trope, but the messy, aching need to be understood. Imagine a sci-fi where aliens communicate through shared hallucinations, or a romance where language barriers are not just linguistic but emotional. The film might ask if we can ever truly know another person, or if we are just projecting our own loneliness onto them. The risk here is veering into melodrama, characters sobbing about being misunderstood over a dramatic score. But when the theme is woven into the fabric of the plot, a hacker who can infiltrate minds but cannot sustain eye contact, or two strangers bonding over a shared glance in a crowded subway, it becomes a haunting echo of your own isolation. The best films do not just present themes. They let them thrash, collide, and mutate. A story about greed might start as a heist thriller, then morph into a tragedy about the cost of ambition, then pivot again to a dark comedy about the absurdity of desire. It is not about tidy answers. It is about holding up a funhouse mirror to the audience and asking if they recognize themselves. When it works, you leave the theater with your brain on fire, seeing the world through a lens you did not know existed. When it does not, it is like a bad magic trick, all misdirection, no payoff. The difference? One respects your intelligence. The other assumes you are just there for the explosions. The set design and locations in Bolt are a hidden gem of the film's storytelling, even though everything is animated. When you watch Bolt, it's easy to forget that every street corner, every desert stretch, every gas station, and every backdrop is not a real location but a creation of digital artistry. And yet, these settings feel incredibly lived in and convincing. They do not just serve as colorful backgrounds, they are full of personality, mood, and narrative function. Each new place that Bolt visits during his cross-country adventure tells us something important, not just about the physical journey but about his emotional transformation. Let's start with the television studio. This place is like a fortress of illusion. It's high-tech, slick, and filled with props and environments designed to make Bolt believe he's a real superhero. From trapdoors and tunnels to dramatic lighting and futuristic interiors, everything in the set design screams artificial intensity. It's all staged for drama and danger, and it works so well because it captures the false reality Bolt has been raised in. This setting feels almost sterile and over-controlled, full of perfectly timed explosions and dramatic backdrops that are too pristine to be real. The sleekness of this environment makes the eventual contrast with the real world all the more striking. Once Bolt escapes into the real world, the locations suddenly open up. The film uses this change to reflect the shift in Bolt's understanding of reality. One of the most visually clever sequences is when Bolt wakes up in a cardboard box in an alley. It's dirty, grimy, and full of messy realism. The trash bins, graffiti, scattered newspapers, and broken signs are all designed with so much detail that you can almost smell the musty alley air. These details aren't just decoration, they create a sense of disorientation for Bolt. He's gone from a pristine soundstage to the chaos of actual life. And we feel that transition right alongside him. As Bolt and his new companions, Mittens and Rhino, begin their journey across America, the set design transforms with each new stop. There's a rundown RV park where Mittens teaches Bolt the art of begging for food. This place is full of rusty trailers, crooked signs, cracked pavement, and weeds sprouting through concrete. The textures are rough, and everything looks sun-faded and worn out, which gives it authenticity. The setting isn't glamorous, but it tells us a lot about Mittens' life and how far removed it is from the world Bolt came from. The props scattered around, from dented trash cans to lawn chairs with sagging fabric, add even more richness to the environment. Later, they travel through a picturesque forest lit by moonlight. Here the mood shifts again. This setting is quiet, calm, and almost magical. Trees stretch high into the sky, the wind rustles leaves gently, and the entire scene is bathed in soft blues and purples. This location stands out because of its emotional weight. It's where Bolt begins to slow down and reflect. The beauty of the forest feels almost sacred compared to the chaos and confusion of earlier scenes. And even though it's animated, the design of this setting creates a peaceful interlude in the narrative that feels as real as anything you'd see in a live-action road trip movie. Then we get desert stretches, highways, truck stops, and big cities. Each one of these locations is brought to life with purpose. The desert, for example, is not just dry land. It's vast and open and a little intimidating. The cracked earth and scorching sun represent Bolt's loneliness and confusion. It's a place that tests him. The truck stop, on the other hand, is full of movement, color, and human activity. Flashing neon lights, greasy spoon diners, clunky vending machines, and buzzing insects all create a sense of chaotic life that's both strange and exciting to Bolt. Again, none of this is real in the physical sense, but the design is so spot on that you forget you're watching animation. One of the most effective visual moments comes when Bolt reaches Los Angeles. The city is designed to feel massive and bustling, with towering buildings, speeding traffic, and the endless energy of an urban environment. It's familiar but overwhelming. When Bolt sees the television studio again, it looks different than it did at the start. There's no magic to it anymore. It's just a building. A place where illusions are built. That shift in how we view the same location is a credit to the production design, which lets the environment reflect the growth of the character. The film also uses props smartly. Mittens' makeshift collar, Rhino's rolling ball, Bolt's dog tag, even the leash Penny uses in the studio, all of these objects carry emotional weight. They're not just things the characters use. They represent identity, freedom, confinement, and connection. The props tell their own stories, whether it's Rhino's transparent hamster ball that lets him dream big while staying protected, or Mittens' worn fur and street-smart attitude shown through her cautious, always alert posture. Even interior settings are full of rich detail. From gas station convenience stores packed with random snacks and blinking lights to quiet hotel rooms with patterned bedspreads and flickering TVs, everything feels designed with care. There's a sense of America being captured in animated snapshots as Bolt makes his way back to Penny, and each location feels like a chapter in the story. The film never repeats environments unnecessarily, and it makes the journey feel epic in scale, even though it's told from the point of view of a confused dog, a sarcastic cat, and an overly enthusiastic hamster. In the end, the settings in Bolt don't just provide a stage for the action. They shape the tone of each scene, deepen the characters, and serve as a visual record of the emotional journey. Whether it's a flashy television set, a sleepy small town, or a glittering cityscape, every location adds something meaningful to the story. And thanks to the careful design choices, each one feels just as alive and real as the characters themselves. The dialogue and script in Bolt are a brilliant blend of heartfelt sincerity, comedic timing, and sharp character definition, all wrapped into a story that speaks to both kids and adults without ever talking down to either. What makes the script so effective is how it balances three very different character voices and lets each one shine without clashing. You have Bolt, who begins the movie speaking like a serious action hero because he thinks he is one. Every line he delivers is laced with intensity and dramatic conviction. He talks about missions and enemies and saving Penny like he's in a spy thriller, and it's hilarious because it's completely out of place in the real world. His lines are delivered with such absolute sincerity that they become unintentionally funny, which is exactly the point. The script uses this mismatch to great comedic effect while also building empathy for a character who has no idea he's been lied to his entire life. Then you have Mittens, the sarcastic, street-smart cat who plays the perfect counterpoint to Bolt's oblivious confidence. Her dialogue is packed with dry wit, cynical observations, and some of the best comedic moments in the film. She's not just there to crack jokes, though. Her lines also carry emotional weight when she opens up about her past and her abandonment issues. Her sarcasm is a defense mechanism, and the script lets that layer unfold slowly. She moves from dismissive and guarded to protective and loyal, and her dialogue reflects every stage of that transition. Her conversations with Bolt shift from mockery to mentorship to genuine affection, and all of that growth is communicated through how she speaks to him. It's subtle and well-crafted, making her one of the most memorable characters in the movie. And then there's Rhino. The hamster in the plastic ball is the explosion of chaotic energy in the script. His dialogue is loud, fast, and full of absurd declarations of heroism and loyalty. He steals almost every scene he's in because he's so over the top and so completely devoted to Bolt that every word out of his mouth feels like it's on the edge of ridiculous, but with complete sincerity. Rhino's lines are packed with references to battles, destiny, and honor. He talks like he's living in a gladiator movie, and it's wildly entertaining because, like Bolt, he believes every word. His exaggerated dialogue contrasts beautifully with the grounded situations they find themselves in, and that contrast is a key source of the film's humor. Rhino's lines may not be deep, but they're endlessly quotable and hilarious. What's really clever about the script is how it evolves as the characters evolve. In the beginning, Bolt's lines are filled with urgency and melodrama. But as he learns the truth, his dialogue softens. He starts asking more questions, showing doubt, and eventually speaking with genuine emotion rather than scripted bravado. There's a moment where Bolt, after realizing he's not a superdog, says something simple and honest about just wanting to protect Penny. That line hits much harder than any of his earlier dramatic monologues because it's the first time we hear him speak from the heart without pretending. That shift is key to the story's emotional arc, and the writing handles it with subtlety. The script also knows when to be quiet. There are scenes where dialogue is minimal or absent, letting the visuals and character expressions do the work. But even in those moments, the script's restraint is part of what makes the emotional beats land. When Bolt and Mittens sit under the stars, there's a pause in the banter. When Bolt listens to Penny's voice through the window, it's silent but full of longing. These moments are just as scripted as the spoken lines, and they're crafted with care to let the emotion breathe. Throughout the film, there are also plenty of clever one-liners and throwaway jokes that add flavor without dragging the pacing. Rhino's heroic speeches, Mittens' snarky retorts, and Bolt's confusion about normal dog behavior all lead to running gags that pay off multiple times. For example, Bolt learning how to bark like a real dog leads to several funny exchanges. His confusion about fetch, his disdain for styrofoam peanuts, and his obsession with rescuing Penny are all sources of recurring jokes that feel organic rather than forced. The dialogue never feels like filler. Every line either moves the plot forward, deepens character, or lands a joke. Even background characters are given distinctive lines that add personality to the world. Animal control officers, TV producers, and fellow pets all have dialogue that's fun and specific rather than generic. This attention to detail in the script makes the whole world feel more alive and believable. Overall, the writing in Bolt is a masterclass in tone control. It juggles action movie parody, heartfelt drama, and road trip comedy without dropping the ball. The dialogue gives each character a clear voice and lets them grow in ways that feel earned. Whether it's Bolt slowly shedding his TV hero persona, Mittens finding someone she can trust, or Rhino charging into danger with an overblown speech, the script ensures that every moment is entertaining, emotionally grounded, and uniquely voiced. It's the kind of writing that sticks with you because it's not just about what the characters say, but why they say it and how it changes over time. Bolt is one of those movies that looks like a typical animated pet adventure at first glance but quickly reveals that it's having a whole lot more fun playing with genre conventions than you might expect. On the surface, it appears to be a film about a heroic dog saving his owner from villains in a world of high-stakes danger and dramatic action. That's the hook, and it kicks off with a bang, literally, in an over-the-top TV show within the film. Explosions, choppers, lasers, high-speed motorcycle chases, villains with glowing green eyes, and a fearless dog who believes he has laser vision. It feels like a parody of every action movie cliché ever made, and that's exactly the point. Bolt isn't just any dog. He's the star of a show that mimics action and sci-fi tropes to an exaggerated degree, and the film has a blast recreating that genre with tongue firmly in cheek. What's clever is how the movie pulls the rug out almost immediately. The moment Bolt leaves the safety of the studio and gets lost in the real world, the genre flips on its head. Suddenly we're no longer in an action thriller. Now it's a road movie. A cross-country buddy comedy featuring a delusional dog, a jaded alley cat, and a hamster in a plastic ball. The genre shift is jarring for Bolt, but it's what makes the movie so entertaining for the audience. We get to watch him stumble through real-life situations using the logic of an action hero, and every time he tries to summon his powers or interrogate a pigeon like a secret agent, it turns into comedic gold. The movie uses this contrast to poke fun at genre clichés while also giving us a sweet and sincere journey. Bolt thinks he's still in an action movie, but everyone around him knows the truth. That's where the humor lands so perfectly. The film plays with suspense and tension the way a parody might, letting Bolt charge into dangerous situations thinking he's invincible. But instead of epic battles, we get hilarious misadventures. He barks at trucks and gets tossed in a box. He escapes from animal control in what he thinks is a tactical operation, but it's really a fluke involving a distracted guard and an unlocked gate. These moments are funny not just because they undercut action tropes, but because they reveal character. Bolt's belief in his role is sincere, and that sincerity makes the comedy work. It's not just slapstick for the sake of it. It's genre deconstruction with a heart. At the same time, the film does not completely abandon its action DNA. The chase sequences, even the real ones, are energetic and well-paced. There's a truck chase involving Bolt and Rhino that uses fast editing and dramatic music just like a real action sequence, even though it ends with them rolling into a ditch. And later, when Bolt returns to the studio for the climactic fire scene, the action suddenly becomes real. The danger is no longer staged. Penny is genuinely in peril, and Bolt has no powers to help her. This is where the film reclaims the action genre on its own terms. The stakes are emotional, the danger is authentic, and Bolt's heroism is no longer an illusion. It's a beautiful payoff that shows how the film uses action genre expectations not to deliver explosions, but to explore identity and bravery. The film also dips into drama without getting too heavy. Mittens' backstory is a great example. A lesser movie might have gone melodramatic with her abandonment arc, but Bolt handles it with just enough gravity to land the emotional punch without losing its upbeat tone. Her bitterness, her fear of attachment, and her slow trust building with Bolt all give the film emotional weight. This is where the drama genre subtly weaves itself into the narrative. It's not front and center, but it's always present, grounding the characters and making their journey matter. Humor is another genre element that Bolt uses with incredible skill. The script is packed with laugh-out-loud moments, especially from Rhino. His genre is basically epic fantasy mashed with Saturday morning cartoons, and every line he delivers is like a trailer for a movie that only he sees playing. Rhino is a character who brings action hero enthusiasm to the most mundane tasks. Walking across a field becomes a covert operation. Climbing a mailbox turns into a heroic ascent. The film is constantly mixing genres through character perspective, and that keeps the tone fresh and unpredictable. What's also worth noting is how Bolt plays with the idea of genre awareness. The movie itself knows exactly what kind of genres it's referencing and satirizing. The TV show sequences are filled with dramatic zooms, slow motion, and overly serious music. It's all played straight, but only for comedic effect. Even the pigeons Bolt meets in each city have regional accents and attitudes that reflect the kind of buddy comedy tropes you'd find in travel-based films. One group is fast-talking and neurotic like New Yorkers, another is laid-back and friendly like Californians. These bits are little nods to genre types, and they make the world feel more playful and self-aware. In the end, Bolt doesn't just follow one genre. It jumps between action, adventure, comedy, road movie, and emotional drama while pulling in tropes and spinning them in unexpected directions. The film has fun with genre expectations but never becomes cynical. It uses the familiar beats of genre storytelling to challenge its characters, reveal their true selves, and make us laugh in the process. It's not just a parody. It's a celebration of all the genres it touches, especially when it shows that the greatest heroism comes not from superpowers but from loyalty, courage, and connection. The way it balances those elements keeps it constantly engaging and surprisingly thoughtful underneath all the jokes and hamster ball chases. Bolt might look like a simple animated adventure about a dog trying to find his way home, but tucked beneath all the laughs and action sequences is a surprisingly thoughtful take on some big cultural and social ideas. It never preaches, never gets too on the nose, but if you look closely, it's quietly delivering commentary on fame, media manipulation, the illusion of reality, abandonment, and the meaning of identity in a world shaped by entertainment. The first and most obvious layer of commentary is the way the film critiques the entertainment industry. Bolt lives inside a fabricated world. Every single moment of his life has been controlled by a studio, a director, and a crew whose job is to keep him believing he really is a superhero dog. The reason? Authentic reactions make for better television. Bolt is essentially a victim of reality TV culture, a dog turned into a brand, molded to fit a script, and stripped of any awareness that his life is fiction. The movie is taking a jab at how media can blur the line between what's real and what's produced, not just for the audience, but for the people or even animals being used to tell the story. It's a gentle but pointed commentary on how far some producers will go for the sake of ratings. This also ties into the film's quiet commentary on identity. Bolt doesn't just believe he's a hero. He's been conditioned to think that's the only version of himself that matters. When that illusion collapses, he has to rebuild his understanding of who he is, without superpowers, without the script, and without the constant applause. That journey mirrors what happens to people who are groomed for fame from a young age. Child actors, social media stars, even athletes often struggle with the transition from the spotlight to real life. Bolt's story is funny and heartwarming, but it's also a subtle mirror of those real-world challenges, showing how disorienting it is to separate your sense of self from the persona the world expects. Then there's Mittens, the stray cat with trust issues and a snarky attitude. Her story is less glamorous but maybe even more socially relevant. She was abandoned, declawed, and left to fend for herself in a city that doesn't care. She survives by manipulating humans into feeding her and teaching other strays how to hustle for food. Her commentary is more grounded, a window into how society often discards what it no longer sees as useful. Her backstory touches on themes of animal abandonment, neglect, and even cruelty in the name of convenience. And yet she's not bitter just for the sake of it. She represents those who've been let down and learned to distrust connection. Her arc, Learning to Care Again, is a quiet message about healing from emotional damage in a world that can be harsh and indifferent. The film also reflects on friendship and loyalty in an age of performance. In a world obsessed with image and spectacle, Bolt's journey is about stripping away the performance and finding genuine connection. He learns that real heroism isn't about stunts or laser eyes. It's about being there for someone even when there's no audience. That's a powerful statement in a culture where value is often tied to how entertaining or impressive you are. The movie gently nudges us to consider what really matters in relationships and what makes someone worthy of love and loyalty. Rhino the hamster brings another dimension of cultural commentary. He is the ultimate fanboy, living in a trailer, watching Bolt's show religiously, and idolizing every move his hero makes. Rhino represents the superfan culture, obsessed with entertainment to the point of detachment from reality. He's harmless and hilarious, but also slightly tragic. His worldview is entirely shaped by television. When he meets the real Bolt, who's clearly struggling and unsure, Rhino doesn't see the confusion or doubt. He still sees the scripted version of a hero. The film is commenting, in a very light-hearted way, on how fans can project expectations onto celebrities or public figures, refusing to see them as real, flawed beings. Even the pigeons in the movie, as silly as they are part of this broader social reflection. In each city, they behave like local street dwellers. They reflect the culture of the place they inhabit. In New York, they're fast-talking and jittery. In LA, they're relaxed and friendly. These little touches may seem like throwaway gags, but they're playful nods to regional stereotypes and the way environment shapes behavior. It's not trying to make a deep political statement, but it's paying attention to how personalities are molded by the places we live and the systems we exist in. There's also something to be said about how the movie portrays control. The studio has total control over Bolt's reality. When he breaks free, he begins to make his own choices. The shift from controlled environments to open spaces mirrors the idea of breaking free from systems, whether they're societal expectations, industry contracts, or emotional limitations. The message is subtle but empowering. You are not defined by what others made you believe. You get to choose who you are once you break the illusion. Overall, Bolt doesn't hit you over the head with social commentary, but it definitely weaves these themes into its narrative. It critiques the media without getting cynical. It addresses abandonment without getting grim. It explores identity without losing its sense of humor. And it reminds us that behind every performance, there is a real being longing for connection, meaning, and freedom. That's what makes its message land so well. It's there, it's clear, and it never forgets to entertain while making you think. Bolt knows exactly how to keep an audience hooked from the very first scene, and it does it in the most spectacular way possible. Right out of the gate, it throws you into what feels like the climax of a high-octane superhero film. Lasers, helicopters, evil agents, exploding highways, a fearless dog charging through danger like he's auditioning for an action franchise. It's loud, intense, and absolutely ridiculous in the best way. For a few glorious minutes, audiences are tricked into thinking they've stepped into a different kind of movie entirely. And then comes the twist. All of it is fake. Bolt isn't saving the world. He's a TV dog who has no idea he's just playing a role. That reveal hits like a comedic sucker punch and instantly pulls the audience into a more layered story than they expected. It's funny, clever, and surprisingly emotional all at once. That switch flips the tone in the best way, and from that moment on the audience is strapped in for a ride that keeps shifting gears. What makes Bolt so engaging is that it doesn't just rely on flashy visuals or one-liners. It builds emotional investment in ways that sneak up on you. Watching Bolt struggle with the realization that his entire life has been a lie hits harder than you'd expect from an animated movie. There's something deeply human about seeing a character question who they are when everything they believed turns out to be fake. The audience feels for him because the film takes time to show his confusion, his heartbreak, and his slow journey toward rediscovering his identity. Those moments resonate because everyone, at some point, wonders if they're living the life they were meant for or just playing a part written by someone else. Then there's the comedy, which is perfectly tuned to make both kids and adults laugh out loud. Rhino the hamster practically steals the movie with his wild enthusiasm and absurd hero worship. His belief in Bolt never wavers, and every single thing he says is delivered with such dramatic conviction that it turns even the smallest scene into a comedic highlight. Adults laugh at how over-the-top he is while kids love his energy and loyalty. He's the kind of character who makes you want to quote the movie long after it's over. His scenes are packed with those quotable moments that people bring up again and again in conversations. Mittens brings a different kind of emotional engagement. Her story tugs at the heartstrings in a more grounded way. She's a stray who has been hurt and left behind. Her bitterness and sarcasm are a defense mechanism that many people relate to more than they might like to admit. When she slowly starts to open up and care for Bolt, the shift is subtle but powerful. There's one moment where she teaches Bolt how to beg for food, and the mix of sadness and humor in that scene is just beautifully balanced. It makes the audience laugh, sure, but it also makes them care. Another reason the movie draws such a strong emotional response is its pacing. There's never a stretch where the story drags or feels like filler. Every scene builds character, advances the plot, or deepens the emotional stakes. When the group is just sitting by the campfire talking about home, the quiet moment is as captivating as the wild escape scenes. The movie knows when to slow down and when to push the gas. That rhythm keeps the audience emotionally engaged throughout. And let's talk about that climax. When Bolt rushes into the burning studio to save Penny, despite knowing he has no powers, it lands like a gut punch. The tension is real, the danger feels tangible, and for the first time, Bolt isn't pretending to be a hero. He is one. That moment gets a strong emotional reaction every time because the payoff is so satisfying. It rewards the emotional investment the audience has made in his journey. When he lays down beside Penny to keep her calm in the smoke and uses his bark to signal for help, it's both heartbreaking and heroic in the most sincere way. Beyond the film itself, Bolt invites repeat viewings and deeper reflection. On a first watch, it's funny and exciting and heartwarming. But watch it again and you start to notice all the little moments of commentary on identity, fame, and what it means to matter. You start picking up on the layers in the performances, the subtle emotional cues, and the way even the side characters add depth to the story. Families who watch together end up quoting it, laughing about Rhino's antics, or even talking about the themes afterward. That kind of engagement means the film sticks. It's not just entertaining in the moment. It leaves a little mark that makes people want to come back to it. Bolt connects with its audience on multiple levels. It makes you laugh, makes you care, gives you something to think about, and makes you want to cheer when the characters triumph. Whether you're a kid getting swept up in the adventure or an adult picking up on the emotional nuances, there's something here that grabs you and holds on. That is what makes it such an emotionally engaging film and the kind of movie that gets remembered long after the credits roll. Now if you're talking about animated movies that mix action, adventure, comedy, and a touch of emotional soul-searching, Bolt sits in a very interesting corner of that world. It's not quite the household name like Pixar's golden hits such as Toy Story or Finding Nemo, and it doesn't lean into the musical fairy tale formula like Frozen or Tangled. Instead, Bolt sits somewhere in the middle, carving out its own identity as a self-aware media satire disguised as a heartfelt buddy road trip about a dog, cat and hamster. It's like The Truman Show met Homeward Bound with just a splash of Mission Impossible thrown in, and somehow it all works. Compared to other animated films about animals, Bolt offers a twist that stands out. While many talking animal movies like Madagascar or The Secret Life of Pets go for ensemble chaos and high-energy gags, Bolt slows down just enough to let its characters breathe. Yes, there are plenty of action-packed sequences and talking animals doing ridiculous things, but Bolt adds a layer of introspection. Most pet-based animated films show animals aware of their reality and their limitations. Bolt doesn't. It begins with a dog who genuinely believes he has superpowers. That single narrative gimmick alone separates it from almost everything else in the genre. It's not just a talking animal film. It's a psychological adventure with an animal suffering a major identity crisis. Now if you stack Bolt up against Pixar films of its time, say Wall-E or Up, you'll notice a difference in tone and ambition. Wall-E was exploring environmental decay and loneliness through long stretches of silence and visual storytelling. Up launched an emotional torpedo in the first 10 minutes and then shifted into a surreal jungle quest. Those movies were swinging big and hitting hard emotionally. Bolt doesn't go quite that deep, but it's not trying to. It's more modest in scale and message, but that actually works in its favor. It feels lighter and breezier without being shallow. It's not about saving the world. It's about finding a home. That's its strength. While other films reach for the stars, Bolt is perfectly content to explore the pavement and alleyways of personal growth. As for Disney itself, Bolt is an important chapter in the studio's timeline. It came just as Disney was transitioning away from the less successful experimental phase of the early 2000s. This was before the full Pixar acquisition had changed the landscape and before Frozen redefined Disney's modern identity. Bolt is often seen as the film that paved the way for that renaissance. It marked the arrival of John Lasseter from Pixar, who helped reshape Disney's storytelling direction. Compared to older Disney animal adventures like The Aristocats or 101 Dalmatians, Bolt is far more character-driven and psychologically nuanced. It doesn't rely on old-school villainy or musical numbers. Instead, it trusts the audience to invest in a confused dog, a cynical cat, and a deranged hamster on a deeply personal journey. If you want to look at animation style and tone, you might compare Bolt to DreamWorks' Kung Fu Panda, which also came out around the same time. Both films have talking animals, action, and self-discovery arcs, but while Kung Fu Panda leans heavily into stylized martial arts parody, Bolt keeps its feet firmly planted in Hollywood satire. Kung Fu Panda uses genre tropes to elevate its hero's journey, while Bolt uses genre tropes to tear them apart and rebuild something more grounded and relatable. One goes high concept, the other goes introspective, and both work in very different ways. Bolt also deserves credit when compared to other media satire films like Wreck-It Ralph or The Lego Movie. While those films came later and were arguably more sophisticated in how they deconstructed entertainment culture, Bolt laid some early groundwork. It gave us a character whose entire life was a lie built for ratings and followed his emotional collapse and recovery. That's some heavy stuff when you think about it. Wreck-It Ralph might have gone deeper into video game metaphors and The Lego Movie exploded with meta-commentary, but Bolt did it first in its own subtle, charming way. So in the grand landscape of animated films, Bolt stands as a bit of an underdog, and that's fitting because the story itself is about an underdog. It's not the flashiest or the most groundbreaking, but it brings a unique voice and emotional intelligence to the genre that a lot of its louder cousins miss. It quietly punches above its weight, and that's what makes it such an interesting film to compare. It may follow a familiar road trip structure, but the path it takes and the questions it asks along the way set it apart. It doesn't just want to make you laugh or cry. It wants you to think about what it means to believe in something that isn't real and then discover who you are when the lights go out and the cameras stop rolling. That's Bolt's place in the world of animation, and it earns it. Bolt is not just a fun adventure about a dog with superpowers, it's a film packed with layers of meaning, clever visual cues, and recurring motifs that enhance its themes and storytelling in profound ways. At first glance, Bolt's journey may seem like a simple mission to reunite with his owner Penny, but dig a little deeper, and you'll uncover a story about identity, belief, and growth. Bolt, the dog who believes he has real superpowers, represents how we sometimes live in a bubble of false perceptions. His whole life has been shaped by a TV show where everything is scripted, from his heroic deeds to his sense of self. The very fact that Bolt is unaware of the artificial world around him is a metaphor for how people can live their lives according to external expectations, believing in an identity that isn't their own. The moment Bolt steps out of his fictional world and into the real one, he begins to question everything he thought was true. This clash between fantasy and reality is symbolic of a greater journey that all of us go through in finding who we really are. The theme of identity is made even more powerful with Bolt's collar. It's not just a gadget, it's a symbol of control and confinement. In the world of the TV show, the collar makes him a hero, but in the real world, it is simply a leash that ties him to a past that no longer fits. As Bolt starts to let go of the collar and face the real world, it becomes clear that true strength doesn't come from artificial powers but from loyalty, love, and resilience. Mittens, the stray cat who initially rejects Bolt, adds another layer of symbolism. She's not just a cynical, street-smart character, she represents emotional damage and the survival mechanisms we build after experiencing pain. Her trust issues are a direct result of abandonment and rejection, and her transformation throughout the movie reflects healing and the slow, difficult process of opening up again. As Bolt and Mittens form an unlikely bond, they represent two sides of the same coin, one person who believes in false powers and another who has shut themselves off from the possibility of trust. Together, they learn that vulnerability, not invulnerability, is what makes them strong. Then there's Rhino, the hamster who believes in Bolt's superpowers without question. His unshakable faith in Bolt might seem like comic relief, but it also carries a deeper message about the purity of belief. Rhino's unwavering trust in Bolt is symbolic of the kind of belief we all need in ourselves, even when the odds are stacked against us. He doesn't need proof or logic to back up his faith, he just believes because he wants to. This belief is what ultimately pushes Bolt to realize his own true potential. Visually, the film uses reflections and mirrors as recurring motifs, constantly confronting Bolt with versions of himself. These reflections symbolize his struggle to reconcile the fantasy of who he thinks he is with the reality of who he truly is. The idea that Bolt's identity has been formed in a world of illusion is visually emphasized every time he sees his own reflection, adding layers to the theme of self-discovery. The contrast between fantasy and reality is central to the entire film, making Bolt's journey a deeply symbolic one about growing up, letting go of childhood illusions, and embracing who you truly are. In the end, the film isn't just about a dog trying to find his way home. It's about all of us navigating the confusing journey of self-realization, and the film's symbols and metaphors enrich this story in ways that turn it into more than just an animated adventure. Bolt had a budget of around $150 million, which is a significant investment, especially for an animated feature. You can see where that money went. The animation is top-notch, with stunning visuals that are not just technically impressive but also artistically distinctive. The environments, from the vibrant streets of New York to the lush forests and deserts, are richly detailed and help immerse the audience in the world of Bolt. The character designs are fun and expressive, capturing the personality of each character perfectly. So, when it comes to production quality, Bolt absolutely delivers on the visual front. But the real question is, did the film deliver financially? The movie made around $310 million worldwide, which, while not a blockbuster hit, is a solid return on investment. It wasn't the kind of runaway success that Disney had hoped for, especially considering the big push the film received and its competition at the time. But it wasn't a disappointment either. The film found its audience, though it didn't dominate the box office the way some of Disney's other animated films did. Marketing played a big role in trying to make Bolt stand out. Disney leaned heavily into the action-packed aspects of the story, with trailers highlighting the comedy and the exciting chase scenes. The voice cast, which included John Travolta and Miley Cyrus, was also used as a marketing tool to attract families and fans of those stars. The marketing did a decent job of positioning the movie as both a fun action-adventure and a heartwarming story about a dog on a journey to find his owner. But despite the marketing effort, the audience reception was a bit lukewarm. Bolt didn't spark the kind of widespread cultural conversation that some other animated films of the time did, and it didn't have the lasting impact that other Disney classics had. That said, the film did find a place in the hearts of families, and its home video sales were strong. Streaming platforms, including Disney+, have helped give the film new life in the years since its release, allowing it to reach a new generation of viewers. While the movie didn't make as big of a splash in theaters as Disney might have hoped, it has been a consistent performer in home entertainment and streaming, making it a solid long-term investment for the studio. In the end, Bolt was neither a massive box office juggernaut nor a financial failure, it was simply a well-made, heartwarming animated film that found its audience over time.